what I'm saying? And Noah, like he's at the Giving University, and he's in the car, and I'm outside talking. I'm like on my phone googling it, like just real nonchalantly, like what is happening here? And man,
look, you never know with Steve. His sense of humor, he could have just robbed a bank.
I know it, man. It was awesome. It was so cool.
Yeah. That is a really fun, funny story how that all got put together. Go ahead, Sam.
So I'm Sam. I work on the board of Giving University and work at Power Plus. This conference room you see is actually one of the conference rooms for our corporate office of Power Plus. Yeah. So that's where we're meeting.
That's awesome.
I'm Mike Lang. I'm also on the board, and we're all Power Plus. And we all, Power Plus is the engine that provides the funding that runs through Giving University. God has blessed us, beyond measure. We are incredibly lucky, and lucky is our code for, divine, blessed, called by God in just so many ways. And you can look up Power Plus too if you want. You can check it out. We provide power when you need it, where you need it. Meeting the immediate long-term needs of our customers, our highest priority. PowerPlus.com. Check us out.
That's great.
So,
yeah.
So just, not giving you a chance to kind of get your legs underneath you, and also for us to be able to get into a mode of being able to, the mode of being able to put together teams that would come out and actually do work. So most of what Giving University does is we fund, we look for people who are real, doing stuff, making stuff happen on the ground. And then, we try and get behind them. But beyond that, we also, we do disaster recovery work as a company. But in your instance, once there's that kind of disaster, there's nothing left, and there's nothing for us to be able to do. And so we want to be able to broadcast to our students who are out there the message that, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to rebuild some houses, we're going to help in the community, and we need a sort of the ability to be funneled in the right direction, because we could go out there and rake leaves, but we want to make a bigger impact with the time and expose the students to the real, life of people that get hit with a disaster. Most of our work is overseas. We just met with a team that came back from Nigeria, and they were in Jos, Nigeria, doing work, figuring out what the needs are. Most of what we do, the Giving University is actually about giving, but when we divide between service and actually pulling money out of your pocket, but we also want to facilitate being able to give back in terms of actual physical service. So what we'd like to do is just connect with you guys and see if we can't, you can't put us on 2 homes, 5 homes, whatever, and then we'll, kind of put together a team, send them out there, and figure out, the logistics and the accommodations, and then get out there and get busy and do some work. And obviously, the support, you guys, aren't even on the map anymore, in terms of, it's like it's a big disaster at first. Everybody's interested in the candle factory and the stories, and then now that all wanes. And we know that, we've experienced that, we've seen that time and time again. And so we like to come in and, do work, that's meaningful after the dust has settled. Actually, Sam went to Nepal after the earthquake.
Yeah.
And what we found that going there 6 months after, the disaster was most effective because all the support, money, supplies, everything, after the government steals everything, then the work really begins 6 months later.
The government don't do that. That's a conspiracy.
Right.
Never.
That's the way it works in third world countries. They just, continue to steal in America.
That's the way they do it here too. They're just better at it.
Well, we've seen some of those. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the gaps, and that's kind of our focus, is bridging these gaps because, one of our main FEMA meetings in Marshall County alone, and Marshall County had over 500 homes hit, over 140 completely devastated, and then probably another 130 or so that will be condemned for complete rebuilds. But FEMA's given them a maximum of $39,000, and that's, after insurance, after all these other things. And that's just an if we know all the red tape has been cut through. And was literally on the phone today with another young man in Graves County, just on the Marshall County line, and come out of their basement. Complete roof is gone, and the insurance is only giving them like 60% of coverage. And so a lot of gaps are going to have to be bridged in between what they're going to be given versus what it's going to cost, because obviously homes are going to cost a lot more money to rebuild than they did 5 years ago, even a year ago. And then we've even seen this in an area called Cambridge Shores. And there was a lot of like kind of higher end homes or even lakefront property that really wasn't big homes, but they're just more expensive because they're on the lake. And they were secondary homes. And so if they're a secondary home, you get zero. And not that they were all just wealthy people that had lakefront property. Like I know 3 families particularly that these were their lifetime investments and Airbnbs that, were retirements and stuff like that. And because they were a secondary property, no insurance, no FEMA, no Red Cross, no nothing. And so trying to bridge some of those gaps, for what people are going to need here, because the rebuilds, there's been a few rebuilds start just because there's been some significant funding come in that you can kind of jumpstart it. But it hasn't even really begun yet. But I mean, they're still doing demo in Graves County. There's still so much cleanup happening in Marshall County. And then from Fulton, which is where the Tennessee line, all the way up to Ohio County, where the end of the storm was, there's just going to be a lot of different ones. And so the opportunity is there. It's just, it's just what are you guys wanting to do, and then how can we help facilitate that?
Yeah.
So what if I turn it around a little bit and say, what do you need? For us to be effective in that community.
Sure. So there's still a lot of red tape to go through that we're not allowed to be a lot of hands-on as far as rebuild goes right now, because they're still going through insurance and through some governmental red tape. We have been holding the Red Cross. We're trying to hold their feet to the fire from the money that they raise to see if they can bridge some of the gaps. There's kind of what we're doing right now. So Relevant Church is establishing long-term effectiveness so that our whole entire county can be rebuilt back even better. And so we're trying to, even through feeding organization, we're still feeding people we sent out almost 900 meals today across 4 different counties.
Wow.
And so we're feeding first responders, we're feeding hospital workers, we're feeding teachers that, so many different educators are trying to rebuild their lives. And so they're not at school. So you've got principals that are being janitors. And so they may not have lost their homes, but they're still feeling the effects of this storm. And so we're giving out meals where we're still making sure that people are, that have just basic monetary needs. And so as we continue to get funds and resources, we can keep people managed as insurance gets finalized, as FEMA gets finalized, and as they continue to do this. And so we're actually, so the building that you guys showed up at was our church. And so we actually just converted almost 10,000 square feet of space just for warehouse space, that we're housing different equipment. We're housing just different monetary needs. And we're still facilitating vehicles. And so there's, I mean, actually part of you guys' donations went to buy 11 different cars. And so, but I could use 4 vans and get them handicap accessorized right now if we had the means to do so. And so you kind of don't think about that, but you got elderly people or either amputees that lost their vehicles, and so many people in these poverty-ridden areas just had liability coverage, and so it covered the loss but did nothing to replace. And so we're still getting in and trying to raise as much funds as we possibly can just to get people back to some sort of normalcy. And then probably here late spring, early summer, some of these rebuilds are going to start heavily, start happening back heavily. And so that's kind of where we are at the moment. You know, if you just said, hey, I want to build a home right now, we could probably help facilitate. It may take a few weeks to work out some of the logistics, you know, but right now that there's still a drastic need for donations, for financial resources, and so that we can keep our operations going. We're fixing to get ready to purchase a long-term facility that we can do educational resources and just some family management and life skills to rebuild, and then in mental health counseling. And so I've got 4 counselors right now that are willing and ready to do it at cost or at no cost at all. But I have to get them a place in order to be able to do that. And so I could go on as long as you want to as far as what we need right now, and what we're going to need in the future. Is just, where do you feel called the best? And so that's where, that's where we can just tell you yes, or tell you, give me just a minute and we'll go from there. And we just had a phone call literally right before this, and it was a huge blessing that we were able to facilitate more non-perishable food items and dry goods, but I got to have a place to hold it. And so we're looking for a place, and we actually have a potential place that we could purchase for long-term recovery efforts. And so just getting that set up so that we could distribute. We had a need for shower trailers and laundry trailers. We were able to purchase 1 shower trailer, and we've got 1 being built, and I'm waiting on them to locate me another laundry trailer so we can send those out to the state parks where so many people are being housed. But the conditions, man, I wouldn't put my crazy uncle out there. You know what I'm saying? And so as they're waiting, we're trying to help manage them to where they have some sense of normalcy in their lives. And so you just tell me how you want me to continue to share this and what is needed right now. And so
it sounds to me like you're just trying to bring dignity and hope and resources where they need it the most, just to bring, like I said, that dignity back of just being alive in a community and being a part of a community. Just with total devastation, it's mind-blowing. Yeah.
So on the warehouse facility, why are you buying it instead of renting it? I mean, is this what's the strategy there?
Well, so if you take 5 counties that lost, I don't know how many millions of square feet of buildings and warehouse space that was lost. And so it is a hot commodity right now if you can even find it. I could have leased 8,000 square foot for about $7,000 a month for 4 months. And so instead of using that money, instead of doing that temporarily, we're converting, and we'll have almost 10,000 square foot of space that we can have it permanently beyond 4 months. and it is, you just cannot hardly find it right now. And so that's why we're using some of those funds and converting that into long-term recovery space, because it's just, we've tried to, we actually had one spot that we were going to go sign a contract and go rent it. And then they called us and say, sorry, somebody else already got it. We didn't realize that. And then actually one of the buildings that we were looking at to purchase for our church, 3 different companies in Mayfield have short-term leases on that building just because they had nowhere to go. And so in order for them to survive as a company, they took what inventory they had left and now they're operating. And so it's a lot of these ripple effects that we're trying to maneuver around. And so we have some great opportunities when the funding becomes available.
Can you build, I mean, would it be possible, do you have space on your property to be able to build like a metal building? Put something up like that?
Yes. So you guys don't know that. So our facility was an old gym and fitness center. Our kids' room were converted racquetball rooms. And so just imagine way back when, before we did all the renovations, a bunch of babies crying in a racquetball room. It was fun to say the least. But so we had, our biggest room was an old dormant Olympic-sized swimming pool. And when we were going to spend, $35,000 plus on temporary rental space, I asked my contractor, hey, what would it cost us to fill this pool in and put me a couple garage doors? And so that's they're pouring the concrete Friday, as a matter of fact. And so we have potential to purchase another 3 acres in front of us and do more space. We actually, so one of the biggest needs right now, and I'll just share this with you, is we have several teams through different organizations like you guys that want to come out and help do rebuilds. Well, the rebuilds, they're estimating at a minimum of about 3 to 3.5 years, because your normal contractor that has homes, they're 18 months out. I mean, I've got 4 contractors in my church right now that they're 18 months out on their next home build. So it's just going to take a long time. Well, all of the state parks and hotels and stuff where you would normally stay, they're completely booked up and you can't even get them. So we have people right now on gym floors or sleeping in the cabs of their trucks and waking up and doing rebuilds. Well, we have a facility right now that was actually an old church camp. It's 58 acres. I can house 200 people today. It's got a commercial kitchen. It's got everything that we would need to house and facilitate. And I can purchase that at payoff, which is less than 1.3 million. And then it's going to cost me probably another, million or so to operate it for the next 2 years by the time you staff it and fund it and stuff like that. But those are different opportunities that we have to help the long-term recovery process, and then to continue to help the transformational process, after the 4-year mark, when that 128-mile stretch is beginning to get back to normal. And so that is a huge opportunity that kind of fell in our laps last week. And that's about to go on the market, and the price point that it's at and the availability is not going to last long. So we're just like praying that they would give us some time so we could try to work out some funds so that we can help facilitate the long-term recovery. And so that's a huge opportunity that we have. There's also potential to build other warehouse space there as well. And so, but thankfully, we're going to have almost 10,000 square feet of warehouse space immediately come Monday. And so, but we do know that one of our biggest needs long-term is being able to house volunteers and to feed them to where they can go out and rebuild effectively. And so that's a great opportunity that we have there.
Like a man camp. Where, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, but it's really nice. It was all updated in 2016, and it's just sitting there doing nothing. And we went and toured the facility, and it's got a commercial kitchen. And I'm like, man, we could house 200 people here right now. I could actually bring in 100 to 150 displaced families and get them out of the slums of some of these state parks that's been so run down for years because there hadn't been any really funding for them, and just give them a little bit of normalcy and, like you said, dignity back in their lives.
Is FEMA not providing any temporary housing like they did during Katrina?
Well, that's a great question. We have seen 0 so far. We got promised 40 for one county, but we've seen nothing. Pardon if I seem frustrated, but our wonderful governor sent down 20 campers, and he put 10 in Graves County and 10 in, I think it was Fulton County. And I mean, that's great, but it's only 10. And we're still taking meals. We're providing, for people in all of our hotels. But they can't, one of the managers of the Auburn Place Hotel here, she was like, we can't keep it up much longer. And so we're doing what we can to just pay for rooms and keep them afloat. And we have asked so many times, where's the temporary housing? And so we're just praying it's going to be like the floodgates are going to open up and here they come, but we have yet to see anything.
So the seller of this church camp, is that a nonprofit? Are they?
So it's another local church here in town that's kind of going through some division, and but there hasn't been any real visionary. With all due respect, there hasn't been any real visionary there in quite some time, and so the camp literally had one event last year, and it was all newly updated and renovated in 2016. And like I said, it could be utilized tomorrow so effectively. And it's also so Mercy Chef is still here on the ground feeding all of those meals, but they're going to reevaluate their needs in July. And actually, they have to leave the school in August because the August is all contracted for their rebuild. And so this would be a perfect place that they could go, because Mercy Chef will stay here as long as we need them to. They were in Panama City for 2.5 years. And the meals, we were feeding 6,000 or 7,000 meals a day during the heat of it, but now it's gone down to about 1,000. But as the rebuilds get back up and running, that will probably go back to the 3,000 to 4,000 2 meals per day range. And so we're looking for a long-term facility for them. And man, this would be an incredible place, but the funding to purchase it and the funding to operate it for at least a year so that we can continue to run effectively and not have to worry about raising more money just to keep it afloat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Would there be, I don't know, for a nonprofit, would you be able to get any debt on that, on that new facility, on that camp?
Currently where we are, we would be like our nonprofit would not be able to, no, sir.
Yeah. And so so you're looking at putting an offer in on that for, what's the price tag on that facility?
Hang on, I'll tell you really quick. They give me complete payoff with the broker's fees this morning. So we actually signed a letter of intent contingent on funds I just said, give me 45 days to see if I can get the funds for it before they put it live on the market. Let's see here. Payoff, including broker's fees, is 1.375.
And that gets you in the facility. But then when you talk about, operating it, you think it's $1 million for, did you say 2 years?
I would say 2 years, because they took every ounce of equipment as far as maintenance, and the only equipment left is the kitchen equipment. And thankfully all of that is intact. And so we would have to furnish it, and then I would have to have a ranch manager, facilitator, and then a logistics admin person to help coordinate. And so I'm thinking 2, maybe 3 staff members. and then we would have to purchase some equipment to be there on site to help management, and then just to fund it as well with with food, furnishings, bedding, all of that stuff. And so $1 million's probably a high end number, because last year when it sat dormant, the operating cost was only about $60,000, and so we look for that to double when it's being in active use. And by the time you buy all the equipment that you need and you staff it properly, that was just a guesstimation, on a high end.
And when you talk about, talk to me about so the kitchen equipment's there, you just don't, that they need beds and they need what do they need? Beds, couches?
Yeah, so you're gonna need some furniture stuff. Obviously, you're gonna have to stock it with all the maintenance items. There is literally no tractors, no lawn equipment, no maintenance equipment whatsoever. They took everything out of it, and so just to get stuff to maintain it, we were looking in the few $100,000 range alone. But that's not a dire need at the moment. But we just know that will come. That will come in the toward the summer and stuff like that. To get in it and to operate it for a year, probably bare minimum would be $300,000 probably to get in it and operate at a bare minimum for a year. And that's with Mercy Chef continuing to provide for the food.
And where do they get their money for food? They have their own independent fundraising? They
Yes.
do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not Mercy Chefs, that's Mercy Chef.
Mercy Chefs, yes.
Oh,
I was
I thought he
wondering
was talking
how
about
that
Mercy
ship
Ships the
was
whole
right
time.
there that whole time.
My southern accent sometimes can bring a drawl.
It was all drawn.
I so heard Mercy Ship.
Yeah.
Mercy
Came up
Chef.
with Mississippi.
Yeah. So, all right. And then, so you're not seeing crews from us needed until the summer.
What are the top 3 things you need now?
I need funding. We need funding to get a permanent facility so that we can continue to operate long term. We need a place to house people. We've got a place right now that we could house about 50, but that's only temporary, and so I need a permanent place to house. And then honestly, we're just trying to get people back on their feet with cars. And I can't tell you how many deposits from temporary housing and condos and stuff that we've paid and furnishings and stuff like that. And so honestly, funding is one of the number ones. And as soon as the insurance and FEMA and all of that, then we'll be back up and running, with work crews. We got a drastic need to purchase another shower trailer and a laundry trailer, and just continuing so that we can continue to manage what we're already doing, so that these rebuilds can start and begin.
What's a laundry trailer cost, and what's a shower trailer cost?
Well, if you buy it new, which is what we have done so far, and we new or used from a company, and actually my contacts give me a company that they actually have the top 2 government contracts, and so they're FEMA approved. It cuts out of so much red tape versus just building one out that is approved, that you could go and now we could go park one anywhere, but we're trying to make it effective. And so the shower trailer, a 3-stall shower trailer with a toilet and a sink, was $51,000. I can get a 6-bay laundry, so that 6 stackable washer and dryers for about $37,000 new.
Okay. All right. But by the way, we're recording this so we can, run back through the numbers and stuff.
If you were successful in finding the camp, could we provide individuals to help early on with the oversight and the maintenance, so that would cut some of your overheads as far as getting the camp up and going? I mean, will there be,
Listen, we're not married to anything. We're just dating the crap out of most of it. You know what I'm saying? You know, we are open to options. And you know, our biggest deal is if we get the camp, how are we going to fund it and operate it for the first year? Because Relevant Church has been, through our amazing donations and then through our generosity, we have been funding all of this. And thankfully, just like you guys, we have been supported way beyond way beyond what we ever thought was possible. But now that we have got a little bit of rhythm and it's not an emergency, we're trying to think long term here so that we can take some of the burden off of the church and continue to run fast and run far, so that we can help our whole entire county get rebuilt. Now, you know, I will say that our church is heavily involved because that's just who we are. You know, we respond to spiritual storms all the time. And so it was just second nature for us to respond to this natural storm.
Right.
Great. Any other questions?
Nope. Okay.
Steve, Beth?
Is,
All right.
Wait.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you could give us let's say we kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of doing it, maybe give us the best contact person to kind of logistically try to figure it out. That's on your
She's
side.
on the call. She's on the call.
Yeah, me or Christina.
Okay,
Great.
sounds good.
Great. Yeah, well, good. Well, thanks for the update. And that helps us because we're not going to, you know, post anything on our, you know, student side until, you know, we can be, you know, hitting the ground. We don't want to just roll out there and be a burden. We want to be we want to be able to roll out there and actually do, you know, meaningful work that, you know, that you guys can direct us to.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. I wish I could tell you. I mean, we had crews cleaning up in Cambridge Shores just a couple of weeks ago, and we're kind of ran off because all the big FEMA trucks and stuff rolled in that were getting some of that bulk. And then when power crews were coming in, we had to get out of their way. I mean, a lot of the different organizations, you know, had to get out of the way in order for them to do certain things. And so some of that stuff will fade out here shortly. And I mean, if you just say, man, we just really want to send a crew in the next month, we could 1,000% facilitate that. I mean, we're helping a little small Latino church in Mayfield right now that's about 60 members. And I've got an HVAC crew right now helping a lot of stuff there at their church because the pastor's home was destroyed. They moved into the church and it was just, and the church got hit and it was not even livable conditions. Matter of fact, they were driving 15 miles one way every other day just to take a shower because they had no running water yet. And so when we heard about that, we immediately sent plumbers, we sent electricians. And so now they're somewhat comfortable in their living space. And when the tornado hit their HVAC system, it was just too much to repair. So we might as well go ahead and replace it. So there are little things that you could do right now. Don't get me wrong. And so if that's something that you did want to do, we could facilitate it. But if you're wanting to send a crew of, 20, 30 people to rebuild a house, then, it would be better to wait until some of this red tape got cut away. And then we could, because we're in direct contacts with city commissioners and judge executives and we have direct contacts with FEMA in 4 different counties that we're just waiting on them to give us a green light. And so that's why we've been able to facilitate vehicles for people because they're calling us saying, hey, so-and-so just came forward, they need a car. Okay. Are they a family with kids? All right, we'll get them a van. And, or, a little grandma and grandpa, we got them a nice little Chrysler, and it was the best car they ever had. A single mom got her a new Ford Escape, and it had leather, and she had never had a leather car in her entire life, and she was just blown away. And so, we have the contacts, we have the availability. It's just, you guys do this. I don't have to tell you, that process. And Christina can speak a little bit better than me because she's really, really, really hands-on because I have a church to run as well. And so she is she has been there and helped facilitate. And then she was heavily involved in the political world. So that's why we've been able to have those connections that I don't think anybody else has been able to get involved with.
Christine, did you want to say anything?
Well,
Do you have
I
anything
just,
you want to add?
yeah, so just to add to what Pastor Joel was saying, I do believe that our organization is at an advantage with those connections in the local government. I've actually been asked to sit on a committee in one of the counties that was hard hit and help facilitate the gap funding for their rebuild project, which is an honor because I'm the only one on that committee that's not an elected official. So we are able to have a foot in the door with these organizations in the local government. And I just really believe that puts us at an advantage to really get help to these families with the resources that God has been so faithful to provide to us. So we just appreciate the consideration so much, and what you've already done has just been incredible. So thank you so much.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And I just have to tell you, my experience about rolling into your church parking lot and seeing nothing. And I was like, oh God, what have I done? Why did I come here? I totally missed it, and drove all the way around the church and looking for something that was going on. And I was thinking, Joel, you were supposed to be this giant. You were supposed to be this big deal, and there was nothing there.
I'm not a big deal.
And then we were able to spend the day with you, riding around and really seeing what was going on. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, just thank you for what you're doing, and we'll noodle on all this and figure out what our part should be.
That sounds great, man. Well, thank y'all so much for the opportunity again. We're just blown away by your willingness and your generosity. And I never thought December the 9th, I never would have dreamed I would have been where we are and seeing God do what only he has been able to facilitate through his people that are willing and open. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just pray massive favor and blessings on the Giving University and Power Plus for your willingness to do. And so thank you guys so much.
All right.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.